Hello and welcome to the Hudson Valley Business Scene, brought to you by the Dutchess County Regional Chamber of Commerce. I'm Frank Costella Jr., President and CEO of the Dutchess County Regional Chamber of Commerce, and I'm so pleased to welcome today Mayor Robert Rolison of the City of Poughkeepsie. Mayor,
thanks, Frank.
Thank you for coming and joining us today.
My pleasure to be here with you. And actually, we have kind of seen each other the past 2 days, like 3 or 4 times, which is always good.
We have, and you know, you've been doing such a tremendous job here in the City of Poughkeepsie. You're on the job now, just coming 8 months, and is it what you expected?
It is, but it's also a lot more. You know, I think that, you know, my expectations were to, you know, get into a position where you had the opportunity to interact with a lot of individuals and organizations. No doubt that I've been doing that. Also having the opportunity to, you know, confront and look at the challenges that the city has. We've been doing that. But I think the one thing that I would say, and it's not necessarily that I wasn't prepared for it, it was the enormity of what it is to be a mayor. And until you're actually really in that position to know, you know, exactly all of the things that you're going to confront and have to address, until you're actually doing it, you know, you don't know it. I mean, I had a pretty good idea, but there is so much more to the position than just the day-to-day operations of city government, which in itself is a huge job. Being out in the public, talking to people, the interaction that I have had with children since becoming mayor has been nothing short of spectacular and really such a great part of the job. I mean, when people hear the word mayor, and that's what it is, it's, you know, they don't hear the word Rob Rolison, they hear the word mayor, everybody looks. Kids, they want to hug you, they want to shake your hand, they want an autograph. I mean, I was on a school trip, and that's all it was. And boy, it's overwhelming and how good it makes you feel.
Has your vision for the City of Poughkeepsie changed since becoming mayor?
No, it really hasn't, because, you know, living in the city for 25 years and being in the greater Poughkeepsie area my whole life, you know, the vision that I spoke about during the campaign of a safer and a cleaner and a stronger Poughkeepsie is what we're working on every day. And I think when you tackle those first 2 obstacles of public safety and cleanliness, everything else just kind of follows along with it. But I guess you could say that, you know, does the vision change a little bit? I guess maybe it could, but I'm sticking to those basic themes because that is moving us in the right direction.
You've brought a whole new level of experience, different experience to city government. Coming from a law enforcement background, also being in the county legislature for so many years, being chairman of the legislature for so many years, you've got a lot of connections in having all those positions and experience throughout the years. Have those connections helped you, and what are some of those connections that have really helped bring the city to the next level?
Well, I've been lucky, you know, if you're blessed, really, quite frankly, with a career in public service, you know, starting out as a volunteer fireman, you know, with my dad, is both together members of the Croft Corners Fire Company, and then, you know, becoming a police officer in the town of Poughkeepsie for 26 years, and then, you know, getting into the other part of public service as an elected official, which was something I didn't really plan on, and it happened, and I'm glad that it did, because now we wouldn't be sitting here together if it hadn't. But what you get to do is you get to establish relationships / connections, and you get to know individuals who know you, and, you know, there is this likability factor in life that you can't get around. And if you treat people the way that you'd like to be treated, and you have respectful dialogue on different issues that you always may not see completely eye to eye on, and establish these working relationships, and I've been able to do that, and especially in the legislature, and working with people from all over the county that I would have never met if I hadn't become a county legislator, and then becoming chairman, so being responsible for the entire body and conducting yourself in such a manner that people respect you for that, and it's not without disagreements. It's not without sometimes never, you know, coming to the exact same position that you want to be in. It's called compromise and being, you know, not partisan, being bipartisan, getting things done. And that was, you know, how I conducted myself in the legislature, how I conduct myself as the mayor. And having these relationships and having these friendships, having this trust and working together has benefited me certainly as the mayor, because it starts at the federal level, working with Congressman Maloney in the city of Poughkeepsie, Senator Schumer. Senator Schumer, it's interesting, Senator Schumer served with my dad in the state legislature. They knew each other. They were friends. He goes out of his way to say that every time he's in Poughkeepsie. And I served with his father. And you have these connections. That's a connection. And then bring it down to the state level with Assemblyman Scartatos and Senator Serino, who are working hard and helping the city. And then to one of our biggest partners and one of my close friends as the county executive. We served together in the legislature. We sat side by side at one point when I first came in. And then Mark going to the assembly and then coming back as the county executive. I had the opportunity to work alongside him for a few years as chairman. Mark realizes the importance, as these other elected officials do, the importance of the city of Poughkeepsie. He calls it the county's front porch. They're helping bring financial resources and other assets to the city that maybe they would have brought anyway, but maybe they may not have. So the cooperation and the coordination is important. And then look at the work that the foundations are doing within the city of Poughkeepsie. The Dyson Foundation, having a personal relationship and friendship with Rob Dyson and Andrea Reynolds and that whole team who are helping the city as well. So it's been very helpful to the city and to me personally to know that I'm not doing this alone. And then, the 338 workers in the city of Poughkeepsie who are out there working hard every day and working with the city council. So it's all about relationships, and I think that's your point.
And I think one of the most important relationships that you have and experiences that you've brought to the table is your law enforcement background.
Right.
And I know that the city has been concerned about safety and security. A lot of the businesses are concerned about the safety and security of the city. And almost immediately, there was a change in the city. Can you talk about what you changed right away?
Well, I think one of the things, and the job, as we call it, the police department, was becoming more visible based on the requests from the downtown business district, because I think that's a central point for us. And I think also too is that for me, and I can't measure this because I haven't asked someone, so I appreciate your observation of it. But I come from law enforcement. I care deeply about these officers and what they go through in being a cop, and they know that I feel that way because I talk to them all the time about it. And that's just, I'm lucky to have that connection. So they know that they have a mayor in City Hall that backs them up. I wish we could do more. I mean, we have a financial issue. This is still a department. The PBA has been without a contract since 2012. We're trying to figure out a way to get that done, and it's not going to be easy right now because of our fiscal constraints. And being on the other side of that, I know how that feels. But I do know, and actually spoke to one of the officers today on the way over here about the relationship not only that we have in government with our police department, but what the community has. And the community respects this police department, and they love seeing them on the street. They're out of the cars as much as they can. We're trying to get the officers back on the bikes, but we lost our community policing unit due to attrition. Don't have the manpower that we once had. But the visible presence of police officers is a very reassuring and has a calming effect on people in a certain area. You can't change that because they want to see police officers on the street, standing there, talking to one another, interacting to the public, and that is what we're doing as much as we can. The Central Business District, and I know people have said, just like you did, that's making a difference.
Yeah, it is making a difference. I mean, we're noticing it right away. The moment that you came into office, within weeks, we saw police presence in downtown, and it is that calming effect. And it makes such a big difference for those businesses that are there to know that safety and security is there. The customers coming in and out every day feel better about it. There's been a reduction in panhandling, just a real concerted effort to make that difference, to make people feel comfortable.
And the thing too, Frank, which I think is really important, is that our officers, and I think police officers in general, like that interaction. Because, when you think about it, cops respond to calls, and generally people are in some sort of crisis. And those can be very difficult situations, as I know and as we know. It can be a very dangerous and difficult job, and sometimes thankless. But when you have the ability for someone to say, hey, thanks, good to see you out here today, and I hear that a lot from folks, that they appreciate that as well. Cops do not look for accolades. They go out there, they do their job, and they're not looking for awards, and they're not looking for the big pat on the back. But when they get it, it really goes a long way. So I appreciate the people in the city of Poughkeepsie, not only our residents who appreciate it, but the business people who come into the city every day to work, and that's thousands, that they say that. And when they're out there doing the job to say hello, and the interaction is very important for police community relations, that I think we do a pretty good job of it here in the city. And we always want to emphasize that, but I think that I'm very proud of this police force, as you can tell.
One of your great campaigns has been The Buzz is Back. And it is back. I've been stung.
I'm glad you have been.
There's a lot of talk about First Fridays, and some of the initiatives that you're bringing now to just draw attention to the city of Poughkeepsie, its architecture, the businesses that are here, the restaurants, and the life that's here, the good quality of life and everything we have to offer. Can you talk a little bit about First Fridays and what that does for Poughkeepsie?
First Fridays has really been great, and it's been interesting because every First Friday we've had a little bit of rain, and we're hoping that the one coming up in August, which we're going to celebrate and recognize the Latino culture here in the city, because they have the festival down at the waterfront on the 7th, is that getting people downtown, which is central, because our central business district is the core of the city. And to get people downtown, to hang around on a Friday. Friday is generally kind of a party night, where people, after a long week at work, would want to go out and grab a bite to eat, maybe have a drink someplace, or go visit an art gallery, do something social. So to encourage that is important for the city, because we have all those things to offer. And what I have heard from people that have done it, they're like, wow, we're going to come back. So I think it's important for us to, continually highlight the city, market the city, advocate for the city, and all the good things that are going on in it, because, there are a lot of people who just don't feel that way. You got to get them here, and then they're going to change that mindset that, I don't know if I want to go into Poughkeepsie in the evening or whatever, because I've heard that too. So it's important. It is important.
Yeah, and I think that security makes all the difference in the world.
Oh, no doubt.
That earlier discussion we had, the food trucks on the street makes the difference, the people walking from one business to the next, just having the presence of people and awareness of what's happening.
Great point, Frank, because the more that there are people and activity on a street, the less issues of public safety you encounter. Bad guys aren't going to be doing things on the street when there's lots of people around. They just don't. And that really helps the feeling of security. You always feel kind of better in a crowd or a group of people. And I think that has really paid dividends for the city, and we're going to continue to promote First Friday and other activities. There's Third Saturday with the arts community, and so there's a lot of neat little things, and I think marketing the city is another part of our job and a part of my responsibility.
Yeah, I feel that once people are there for First Fridays, they experience it and they realize, wow, this is great.
I know, yeah.
We've got so much here. I didn't even realize these restaurants are here, and this great food is here, and this culture and music and all these exciting activities. And I know there's been a lot of participation from many of the businesses, not just restaurants. Right. I know Change Point Theater and the Bardavon have been big participants in this. The walkway over the Hudson has been a participant in this.
We have been very, very, very lucky and encouraged by all the folks, including yourself in the chamber, Scenic Hudson, and other organizations who want to get involved. What we're looking at doing in October is an Oktoberfest theme. We had a meeting in my office last week with probably 7 or 8 business restaurant owners. The walkway was there, and we're thinking that's going to be a great Friday. So we're working at some of the details with that. But this is the thing about the city, and I say this all the time, and I think I would be remiss in not saying it here today with you, and you say it also, is that there's so many good things going on in the city. There are so many people, so many organizations who want to just do good things. It's a constant flow into City Hall with individuals wanting to help. And the meetings that we have with the Poughkeepsie Alliance, I mean, there's an example of that group of people. What the Chamber of Commerce does countywide, regionally, but what you do specifically for the city is so important. And we need to use those resources, encourage those resources, and make sure that city government can be a partner to the extent that it can. We're having a capacity issue now that we've got so many things coming to City Hall. We don't have enough people to kind of address them as quickly as we'd like, and that's something we'll work on. It's going to take some years.
You're the guy.
Well, yeah, I enjoy that. I just sometimes feel that I can't be everywhere, and I want to be, and can't get out of the office as much as I want, because it's important to be a mayor that's visible, but hopefully we're the city administrator, the city finance commissioner search is kind of closing now. We're focusing on 2 candidates, so that's going to help. And then we're going to be creative in how we kind of do the rest of the things that we got to do on a daily basis.
Yeah, it was very enlightening for me last night. You had mentioned in a meeting that you received a call from someone. They were talking about some economic development, and they asked, who do I ask that question to in city government? And you said, well, I guess it's me.
Right.
And it was enlightening for me to realize how much weight is on your shoulders with limited resources. So what are your biggest challenges now?
Well, I think fiscally is the biggest challenge. We're getting ready we're actually working on the 2017 budget. We have a significant budget gap. We had a shortfall at the end of last year. We're trending this year in that shortfall mode again. Expenses, we're keeping expenses down. We just don't have enough revenue coming in to support the budget. But at the same time, and that's somewhat long-term, multi-year approach to budgeting. But we've got all these, groups, organizations, investors, developers and just people who want to help, coming to the city. So the capacity issue for economic development and planning is stretched. We have no economic development staff, so to speak. Our IDA is getting back up and running, and Paul Kalogerakis is our chair of the IDA, and he's retiring, and he's pledged his support to actually come into City Hall and work on IDA and economic development issues. I mean, that's great. It's going to really be helpful. So capacity is a challenge. Being able to do things in a timely manner on a variety of levels, kind of throughout city government, because we've got a lot going on and not always the resources to commit to it right away. And I really want to thank the public and the business community for being patient. You get everything from, we need more police officers on a particular block, to I've got a water issue, to, hey, can you mow the median on Lincoln Avenue? Or the grass by the Poughkeepsie sign. And it's trying to be strategic and trying to do things in an orderly manner. And then something happens and everything kind of gets tossed out the window because you got to focus on that.
And I'm sure with your connections and so many friends that are close friends of yours that you've made over the years, you're getting this via text message, via email, all hours of the day and night.
Yeah. And the good thing is that I would have to say 99% of all those messages or requests are like, hey, hate to bother you, but just wanted to let you know about this. And maybe that's 100%. So, and I appreciate that, because the one thing about that is that if you don't know what's going on, you can't respond to it. Right. And I think one of the things that the city has struggled with is, measuring things. If you don't measure, you don't know what the challenge is and what you need to combat this particular challenge. You can't fix what you don't measure. And that's one of the things that we really spent a lot of time on in the first 7 months, is measuring, analyzing, figuring out what our responsibilities are, what needs to be met first, prioritizing. I mean, we dealing with roof issues at City Hall, roof issues at the sewer plant, work on the financial parking deck, and these were things that were on everybody's radar for a good number of years that were never addressed. And the heating and air conditioning system in City Hall was either kind of on or off. There was no control system that worked. We've fixed those things, and the roof is going to get done, and we're going to fix the roof at the sewer plant in a critical building that should have been done years ago. and the financial parking deck. We're going to make those are our city infrastructure. Those are repairs that we need to do, because if we can't fix our own stuff, then how are we going to do the other things? And I'm happy to report that those things are being addressed.
So with the limited resources that you have, capacity that you have, how can the residents and businesses of the community help to achieve a greater Poughkeepsie? How can they help you as mayor?
Well, they are, and being supportive and not being too critical at this point, but I know that's going to come, and they have every right to be when they think that something is not being done correctly, and I like to hear that. And I'm not saying I haven't gotten complaints from people, because I have, but I think that to understand the long term for the city of Poughkeepsie, because I don't think in recent memory we've addressed the city in that way. We as a community, both residents and the business owners and people who are putting money into the city, the lifeblood of the city is its residents and the businesses, is that we've got to think long term, and maybe we need to say, if not for me right now, it's going to be for someone down the road, to leave the city in a better place than we found it, so future generations have the chance to live in this city and maybe not face all the challenges that we're facing right now. Because I think just in life, if you don't address something, the future can be somewhat unclear. And I think that that's happened in the city. I'm really very encouraged and pleased with the way that the city council feels the same way. They approved these repairs to critical city Poughkeepsie infrastructure items, and those are going to pay lasting dividends for years after we're out of office. And, I used to say in the legislature to new legislators that, we need to respect the people that were here before us, that sat in these chairs long before we got here, that did things that gave us the opportunity to be where we are. We need to be mindful of that. And the public also, my responsibility is to communicate to the public on what the situation is. When I ran, when someone would say, well, what about this and what about that? And I would say, I don't know, but when I know, I'm going to tell you. And that's what I've been doing, and that's what I'm going to do more of, especially when we start to talk about the fiscal challenges of the upcoming budget, where we're going to be short, and to say to the public, well, what would you like? What do you want your city government to look like? Myself, it's basic services. It's public safety, it's Department of Public Works, it's maintaining our parks and our street and our infrastructure. There's not a lot of things that we do in city government that I would say are fluff and extras. That stuff's all been cut over the years. So, but having that dialogue with the community is important, because I don't think, and by no fault of the public's, I think government needs to be, at least I need to do the best job that I can communicating the issues that this city faces, and then working on them together. I know that sounds, but that's how it's going to have to go, because ultimately the voter decides, and to have people in public office who share that same vision to the extent that they can. I mean, everybody's got a little different, take on things, but working together, having that dialogue, better public dialogue leads to better public policy. Right. And I think that that's really the primary job for me, is to communicate.
Yeah, and you're doing such a great job at that. I know the city council is predominantly a Democrat council, and you're a Republican, and I know there's only one other Republican on the council, but you're doing such a great job communicating with them and working together to achieve a greater Poughkeepsie.
Yeah, because, I was in the legislature, and I took votes. Now I am a mayor, and that's not the same. It's not the same way. And I have to tell you, in the beginning, I had to say, okay, you're not in the council, but you got to. This is the voting body. It's their job. You can propose all you want, even have the greatest ideas, but at some point in time, if these things got to get voted on, it's the council's responsibility. I take that very seriously and understand the unique challenges that they have as well.
So Poughkeepsie has such a rich history, and there's so much more potential. What are some of the projects that you're most excited about? I know there's so many projects on the verge of happening right now, and that are under construction or in the works of approval processes. Maybe they're waiting for financing. Sure. What are the most exciting projects for you right now?
Well, I think for all of us to see things rising up. and the potential of the other areas of the city, which will benefit from that. So right now, you've got activity at the waterfront. It's the area that has the best chance to develop probably the quickest because it is a waterfront. We've got the assets of a train station, of a beautiful Hudson River, 2 bridges, 500,000 people going across the walkway every year. So you've got the Water Club, literally rising up from the ground as we speak. The O'Neill Dutton project, which is just north of the walkway, is ready to go, planning board approval. The Ken Carney and his development, Queen City Lofts at Main and Bridge, approval, ready to go. Probably breaking ground early next year. And so once those things start to happen, the optimism and the kind of re-energizing city starts to really take off, and success breeds success. Then, moving up Main Street into the downtown core, where lots of discussions, and talked about it yesterday at the 2 meetings that I was at, and the one last night with you with the Alliance, on how to revitalize the downtown core, and that will help also the neighborhoods that surround it. There are things that are on the drawing board, such as a Fawkill Creek trail, basically from the train station up towards the walkway, the rail beds on the north side of the city that we'd like to create pedestrian walkways through the north side of the city of Poughkeepsie. And, just also some of the other little success stories of employers coming into the city. And some small factory operations, a couple guys from Brooklyn up here doing work. And now it gets into the connecting our people to jobs. And all of these projects, have jobs in the construction industry. Some will have permanent jobs there, in the service industry and other areas. We can't forget the $500 million Vassar Brothers Medical Center project. And then, the jobs that will create, and the fact that HealthQuest now has approximately 300 jobs they're trying to fill. So that's something that when we talked about last night, connecting people and jobs, and we need to get, I don't say we need to get better at it, we need to be more comprehensive in helping and talking to one another within the community on these potential jobs for our residents. But as you see these things happening, there is, a sense of excitement that everybody feels. And I'm excited about just talking to you about it.
Mayor Rolison, on behalf of the community and the business community, thank you for your service to us. I know you've been in civil service your entire life, and
Pretty
we can't
much,
thank
Frank,
you enough
yes.
for everything that you've done for us here. I also want to thank our listeners and our viewers for tuning in today, and thank you for tuning in to the Hudson Valley Business Scene.